I want to ask Scott a question when he comes on
Well,
here.
let's bring him on now then,
Oh, all
because
right.
yeah, sometimes people are like, "Oh, the manager made the wrong move here." Rob Thompson's been pretty damn good the last couple of years. Scott Franzke at Phillies Radio joining us right now. Scott, how you doing? And why don't you start things off, Todd Father, right after Scott says hello?
Hey, go ahead,
Hello.
Scott.
What do you got, Todd Father?
Hey, what's up, man? So I'm sorry about what happened last night, man. This baseball's a tough sport. We've all been there before.
No
My
doubt.
question to you is, from watching the game, it just seems like from watching the hitters from the first 4 games to the last 2, it just seems like they were anxious. They were swinging at a lot of pitches, a lot of balls they were swinging at. And to me, that's not their mojo. Their mojo was seeing pitches, and then when they got that pitch, they would take care of it. And then eventually, the last 2 games, guys were missing those pitches. Do you think there was anything going in a different game plan or anything they had going?
Well, I mean, I heard a little bit what you guys were saying. I mean, the Diamondbacks pitched really well. I mean, you go back and look at some of the sequences. They didn't miss a lot in the middle, and I think that's something that teams like the Phillies do. They're able to capitalize on those misses in the middle. Again, they beat some pretty good pitchers along the way. Spencer Strider included, and he's not a guy who misses a lot, but the Phillies were able to put enough on him. I just think, there's a combination of things. I mean, you got to give the Diamondbacks a little bit of credit, but I do think maybe, as the innings started to evaporate and the chances started to run dry, I think it's human nature. You start to tense up a little bit. So I know Bryce was pretty close on that one, with the 2 runners on, but going into the last game, and I'm not sure off the top of my head what last night turned out to be, but going into the last game, he had 2 at bats with a runner in scoring position in the series. Your 3-hole hitter. So, I mean, he gets one chance to make a difference, and he fails, and he's the one saying, "I failed my city" and all this stuff. But there just weren't that many chances for him. You know what I mean? I thought they pitched him pretty well, and he just had nobody on. Diamondbacks pitched great, I thought.
Franzke, you losing weight with T-Mac? What's the deal, bro? You're looking tremendous.
Yeah, no, probably not. Just I haven't eaten in days, right? So just trying to keep up with this schedule.
Is that what it is? It's time. I roused you out of your nap coming on the show here.
Oh, I've made 1 trip to the elementary school. I've made 1 trip to the middle school. We had a forgotten violin. We got a kid going in late because he was, staying up late with the Phillies last night. Got a soccer game this afternoon. It's just back to real life now.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Who is taking this loss the worst? Gus, Loretta, June, or your good friend L.A.?
Yeah. I'd say it hit Gus the hardest. 13-year-old baseball fan, baseball player. I mean, I think it hit him the hardest of all. That's for sure.
Not L.A.? Larry Anderson? For anybody who doesn't know who L.A. is, it's your Robin to your Batman. He's your Robin. Weekends at Larry's. Yes, Larry Anderson is a cult hero in Philadelphia. Was he pissed, or was he pissed already in Game 6? I shouldn't have gotten to this place if they would have just thrown fastballs down and away. Just unbelievable.
Well, it worked for the Diamondbacks. Let's be honest. Fastball down and away, and then break off a slider down and a little further away.
Yeah,
that seemed to be a pretty good formula. He's a fan like everybody in this town. He's a fan of the Phillies. He wants them to do well, and I think it's tough. Especially for broadcasters, we're just riding, right? We don't have any effect on the outcome. There's nothing we can do. We're just watching. And you're just hoping your team is the one that comes out on top. And it's so rare that it is, right? And there's nothing you can do about it to affect the outcome or anything like that. So, it's frustrating for all of us. That's for sure.
Yeah, those are your kids. Gus, Loretta, and June are 2 twin girls, and your 13-year-old son, Gus, an aspiring catcher. He's kind of like a 13-year-old JT Realmuto.
I don't know about that.
But, come on.
Yeah, I got a bone to pick. My son's team lost to Toms River East in the regional championship this year. Thanks a lot, Frazier.
Oh no, man! What
Oh.
age group?
The 13U. So
Oh, they were good. They were good.
Hey,
yeah, they were
Scott.
good.
So I'm going to mix in two opinions for you, and then you tell
Okay.
me, if you agree or you see something differently. So number one, if you have to pick someone to blame in the Phillies org for the loss in this series, who would it be? For me, I'm going to go to Craig Kimbrell, just because those are two games. Like Paul Sewald closed out 4 games. Craig Kimbrell had 2 blown saves. I mean, Rob Thompson chose to use him in both of those games. I know he'd been used all year, but back-to-back games, it was tough. So if you're going to blame someone, who would that be? And the second question is, do you think that this was the best chance ever during this run for the Phillies to win a World Series? Because obviously, we always say this, like, your window is now, right? And there's teams sometimes that think their window is going to last for a long time. I think the Phillies are going to be good for a while, but man, it just seemed like they were the best team, built to win in this postseason, and it didn't happen. So what are your thoughts on both of those?
Well, as far as someone to blame, I mean, this, make no mistake, you can say what you want about Kimbrell or any of the pitchers. This team was built to hit. This team was built to score a lot of runs. And they got 5 guys that, have triple digit contracts, well over 100 million. Some of them over 300 million that didn't perform in this series. So if there's blame to be laid, I don't think, I'm not a guy in baseball that thinks you can lay blame on one person. A baseball game unfolds and there's 1,000 different things that happen along the way. And what happens in the first inning can very well have an effect on what happens in the ninth. And I think it's hard sometimes. We all want to point a finger. We all want to assess blame. We always want, someone to pay for it or whatever. But this is a collective effort. They win as a team, and they definitely lose as a team. And there are a lot of guys there that could probably look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what, didn't get it done. And hopefully that if they do, they sort of acknowledge their part in that, because I think this is a team that's built to win. And 3 times the Diamondbacks held them 2 runs or less. They're supposed to score more runs, and everybody wants to hang the loss on Kimbrell in a 1-1 game because he gives up a run in the bottom of the 9th on the road, right?
What about the winning window? Do you think this was the best built team for the playoffs with what the Phillies had? I mean that as a compliment. I'm like, I looked at them and I picked them to win the World Series. I'm like, this team looks better than everyone else in terms of how they're built. You got your top 2 starters and even really a 3 with Suarez, and the bullpen's great and the offense great. Didn't show up, but I'm just like, it's hard to replicate that. Guys get hurt, guys leave. We'll see what happens with someone like Nola,
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely, that opportunity was there. And again, Texas is playing unbelievable right now. And I, I mean, I don't know. It's not like if the Phillies had gone to the World Series, it's some kind of shoe-in. I believe they're a more talented team than Arizona, but Arizona outplayed them. I think the Phillies are a deeper team than Arizona, but Arizona outplayed them, and they deserve to move on because they played the best. But yeah, I thought the window was there. I think a lot of people felt like, hey, if whoever wins that Phillies Braves series probably, should go on to the World Series. But, that's baseball, right? I think it's an interesting. It's sort of a weird thing about baseball that we build these teams to be good over the long haul, right? But it really comes down to how good you are over 7 days or 5 days or 3 days, right? To whether you move on or not, to whether you're a World Series champ. I mean, the Braves are an unbelievable team. I saw them a lot. They're deep, they're talented, but they ran out of pitching at the wrong time, right? So they're home early, even though they won 104 games. And the Dodgers, every year it seems like they're home early, even though they win 100 games. Why is that? I don't know. We build teams for the long haul. We try to make them good for the long haul, but sometimes it's the sort of the chaos of the tournament. I almost wonder if you just let all teams in the tournament. Do it like the NCAA, right? Just have everybody going crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the Royals get hot at the right time.
They swept the Astros in two series. So
right. I mean,
never know. Siena's never winning the tournament though. Don't worry about that. They might make some upsets.
No, but that's the point, right? Royals upset, Baltimore in the first round, and then the whole bracket is messed up. And
you would love that chaos. You sit down every day except for Sunday with Topper pregame, and you do your pregame show. I saw it last year when I worked with you. Like, was there any times you saw the ups and downs throughout the whole season? Was there any time that you ever saw Topper, including this series or before this series, like where he was nervous or trepidatious about his, like, what was happening? Because he knows, and I've told you tons of stories about how he's like, he's so prepared. He almost can like tell you what could happen in the games. Was there any times where you saw him nervous?
No, in fact, he stayed. I mean, he was really positive and he was really confident. And even off mic and behind closed doors, he remained pretty confident in his team. He was very watchful of their mood and their attitudes and the way they were handling things in the clubhouse. As you know, Kratzy, he's a guy who watches people, right? And he has tries to have a pretty good sense on what they're feeling and how that might translate. He felt like they were loose and ready to play and ready to go. Both, game 6 and game 7. I think he had really, again, high hopes that it was going to go their way, and they just didn't hit and it didn't go their way.
Hey, I want to ask you what you said before about making everybody play in the playoffs or whatever it is. So we've had these conversations on here before. Do you believe 5-day layoff, is that a problem in playoff baseball? Or are you a believer in that? Or are you just saying, you know what, it is what it is. These guys are professionals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the 5-day layoff. There must be something they can do to better to make being the division winner matter more, to make it more of an advantage. I don't know what that is. I've heard some people say, well, you come out of that wild card series and maybe you don't get any time off. You have to roll right into the division series. Maybe you back it up by a day. It's a 4-day layoff for the division winner. There's no off day for the wild card winner if it goes 3 games. Maybe that's a way to get it. There has to be some sort of advantage to winning the division. Otherwise, why are we doing it? Right? Otherwise, why are we acting like winning the division is a big deal? Because right now, do you think the Braves think it's a big deal that they won the division, or the Dodgers? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's something marketing-wise, you can fly that flag and all that, but you didn't win the World Series, and I don't know how you make it more fair. I mean, Todd, you'd obviously be way better qualified to answer whether or not a 5-day layoff is detrimental to the team. The idea, maybe it is for a hitter. I don't know, for pitching, I would think it's probably beneficial. You line it up the way you want it. They got to do, the Braves technically were going to get to do something they didn't get to do all year, and that's throw Strider and Fried twice in 5 games each, right? So 4 times in 5 games. Now I didn't get that far, but what better advantage do you want than that?
I love that you're saying this. I completely disagree with you, but I also it also makes me.
Well, what is it? What is?
Go ahead.
I just mean, how do you make the division matter? How do you make winning the division matter? Or are we just looking at it in a vacuum of this year's results?
Well, it's never happened. Like it's never happened where a 100 win team makes it to the playoffs. So people are even crying more about it. And to me, my thing is just flip it on its head. Let's say right now the Dodgers and Braves get it, and I've asked probably 6 different people that have been involved with teams that got eliminated that had 100 wins, and I said, okay. And even Anthopoulos came out and said, no, it's not going to happen. Would the Braves and would the Dodgers have said, we'll go play the wild card because we don't want so much rest?
That's what they'd rather do, is go play the wild card?
No. They said no. I don't think anybody would take the wild card game. So to me, that's the option, is to give them the choice. If that is really detrimental to your hitters,
Right.
give them the choice. Because my
Also,
career
Kratz-
shows that 5 days off of hitting all the time makes you a 200 hitter.
Kratz, good one. But also, like, Max Fried probably wouldn't have even pitched in the wild card series. The Braves could have gotten bounced in the freaking wild card round if they played in that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just don't know how you. I mean, I agree with you in the sense that I think the idea of maybe the division winner needs somehow a better home field advantage, or maybe the reality is the division series needs to be longer. I mean, the whole idea of the division series, of winning the division, is saying you're the best team, you're the deepest team, you're the best team. So show us how deep and how good you are. Again, I'm not. I don't know what the right answer is, because the Phillies certainly, they can ride two really good starters, right? Wheeler and Nola. Do we want our game to be that way? Don't you want to see the full depth of the roster and make teams show you how good they are? I don't know. Maybe that's the real advantage there, is if the home team has, the division winner, they're guaranteed a 7-game series where they can fully show off how good they are.
Let me ask you this. That's great points on all those. I love that. Maybe even have the 10 teams come in, and whoever this top team is, say, hey, I want to play this team, and you go from there. That's a good idea. What do the Phillies need to do in the offseason, if anything, to get this team back to where they need to be again?
I kind of think their central first question is to ask Bryce what he wants to do. He was asked in the postseason, are you going to go back to the outfield? Because I think there's a lot of dominoes that could fall there, right? If you view him as an outfielder who maybe sometimes plays first base to, rest, or sometimes DHs or whatever. But what do you view him as? Are you looking at him as your everyday guy at first base? Because, I mean, obviously this year, in the second half, he was. And certainly in the playoffs, he was. So I think you answer that question first. And then you start deciding what to do from there. I don't know if they're going to sign Aaron Nola. I don't know how hard they'll push to sign Aaron Nola. But I think October showed just how valuable Aaron is. And Kratzy knows what an Aaron Nola fan I am. But that's not an easy guy to replace. The durability, the dependability, the pitchability, to me, he's what you want in a starter today. And I think he's still got plenty more left to go. I don't know what I'm not a big financial numbers guy in terms of what the players make. But I can tell you this, it'll be hard to replace him. I don't know where you go to replace him. So I think they could probably, I do think, again, you answer the Bryce question, then you figure out first base. Is it Reese? Do you try to bring him back on a 1-year deal? Very popular player, but there's some people, detractors as well, who would be fine moving on. So I don't know. I think you answer the Bryce question, then you see what you want to do with your outfield, but it's all about pitching. So.
Are you ultimately saving money because the team didn't move on to the World Series to play in Texas again, and all your family come and just bombard you with tickets?
The team is saving nothing.
Are you saving money?
A few bucks.
Yes.
I might be saving a few dollars. Yes. They don't exactly put a big stack of tickets off to the side for the radio announcer. So, yeah, I would have been pretty limited in the number I could have purchased in the first place. So
that's what you were telling everybody. I get it.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. It would have been really cool to go there, and that's where I grew up, and that's I have great relationship and a tremendous fondness for Eric Nadel, who's been their voice for years, and he was a big mentor of mine. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him in some measure. So I hope he gets to finally call a World Series. And I wasn't hoping for that 24 hours ago, but now I guess that's what hope I'm left with here is that the Rangers can win it for Eric.
Hey, last thing for me before we let you go. In 2001 or 2, I think my brother played for Kane County. Did you ever announce for him at all in those years?
What year was he there?
It's either 2001 or 2002. I read that you were there in the
I
early
was there
2000.
through 2001.
I
don't remember.
Charlie,
Yeah,
but all good.
Yeah. We had some really good teams then.
They had some squads back then in the minor leagues.
Yeah, the last year I was there in 2001, their infield was Adrian Gonzalez at first. Josh Wilson, who played a long time, he was at second.
He was good.
Yeah, and Miguel Cabrera was the shortstop, and Josh Willingham was the third baseman.
And it was Dontrell pitching. Was Beckett
he
on
was
that
he
team
was also
too?
the next year. I didn't.
You must have missed it.
I missed him.
All right,
they had Beckett the year before that, so Josh Beckett was there. They had some really good players go through there.
No doubt.
Scott, it was great to have you on, dude. Enjoy the off season. We'll see what the Phils do, and
let's go Black Rock soccer team today, okay?
Black Rock
exactly.
Soccer.
Sorry we beat you. So tell your
don't
kids.
Don't be over anxious like the Phils. Just go have fun out there. Cheers.
Right.
See you, Scott.
See you, folks. Bye.